Thanks for tuning to the Payout podcast. This your host Trouble, and it's a special episode. It's March Madness time, baby. It's time to get to it. Been waiting a long time, all season for this time. You know, right for the NBA playoffs, right for hockey playoffs, right for baseball start. March Madness. A couple weeks of, young boys getting to it. Wake up in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all the way to the end of the night, 9 o'clock. It's time to get to it. It's favorite time of the year. So what we're gonna do is we pretty much handicap the first round of 64, first 2 days of the tournament. So we kind of went through the entire card, kind of looked at what we like, and put it together. I mean, you can put it as a parlay, you can put it as a straight bet, but we're gonna go ahead and try to see if we can go ahead and bankrupt the books this weekend and get some chips together and get ready for next weekend. So let's go. Okay, so the first game we're gonna start with is gonna be VCU versus North Carolina. We got VCU coming in 27-7 straight up. North Carolina coming in 24-8 straight up. Now, as far as the trends that I looked at, I got VCU coming in 1-8 straight up last 9 as a dog, and North Carolina 6-1 straight up last 7 as a favorite. Now, my line, I got North Carolina -5. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with North Carolina on the money line in this game. I think North Carolina got one good tournament game in them. I'm not saying they're gonna go far. Obviously, they don't got their best player, their rookie, young buck. Probably top 10 pick. But I think they're good for one good game in this tournament. They good competition throughout the year. I don't think VCU is going to possess anything special that North Carolina has not seen. I know VCU's hot. They ran through their tournament. They were, I think, number 2 behind St. Louis in their division. So, in their conference. So, I just think North Carolina got one good game in them. Got a couple pieces that VCU, is not going to be able to contend with. So give me North Carolina money line. Now the second game we're going to go ahead and look at is going to be TCU versus Ohio State. Now we got TCU coming in at 22-11 straight up, and we got Ohio State coming in at 21-12 straight up. Now TCU is 3-8 straight up last 11 away from home, and Ohio State is 8-0 straight up last 8 as a favorite. Obviously, I'm looking at that. I got Ohio State in my personal line -3. With the line -2.5, -3, something like that. I'm going to go with Ohio State on the money line in this game. I just think once again Ohio State in the Big Ten, TCU's in the Big 12, but I just think Ohio State turned up. They barely made it into the tournament, but I just think they got something to prove. Being 8-0 as a favorite, not too many times they've been a favorite. This season most likely. And then, obviously TCU has been a dog. As far as away from home, they don't do too great away from home. So we're going to go ahead and roll with Ohio State money line in that game. Now the third game we're going to handicap is going to be Siena versus Duke. Now we got Siena coming in at 23-11, and we got big bad boy Duke coming in at 32-2. Now Siena is 9-4 against the spread last 13 as a dog, and Duke is 0-5 against the spread last 5 playing on Thursdays. This is a tough one for me, man, because obviously, Duke is pretty much consensus number 1 in the tournament. Probably 50-50 with Florida as far as winning the entire thing. Probably 60-40 seeing Florida lost their tournament now. I'm gonna take the points for Siena, man. I think Duke got 2 starters out. Obviously, Duke is loaded. They got people probably come off the bench just as good as the starters, but that's a boatload of points. I think Duke, looking at their scenario, they want to just get out of the first round healthy. Not, their main players not get injured. I can see Siena covering that first half easy. Hopefully they don't come out scared and nervous. They come out knowing that, we're just not happy to be here. We want to prove a point. And they can go ahead and come out, give us a big first half where if it get out of hand in the second half, it doesn't get too much out of hand where they lose by 30. So I got Siena +29 in that game. Now the fourth game we're going to handicap is going to be Texas versus BYU. Now we got Texas coming in 19-14, did win the first 4-in game. Then we got BYU straight up 23-11. Now Texas is 1-5 against the spread last 6 in March, and BYU is 17-3 straight up last 20 as a favorite. Okay, now my personal line got BYU -4 in this game. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take BYU on the money line. Texas played good their game against NC State, but they could have lost that game. NC State lost so many bunnies they missed, and I just think that they skinny chin. They kind of folded because they were up like 8 to 10 points in the last minute and a half, and they gave that lead up, and NC State had a chance to win that game. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with BYU. I think BYU top 5, top 3 player owes the tournament a couple good games, and I think it starts right now. AJ he owed the tournament a game or two at least to put his name in them books. If he's gonna go to the next level and do his thing. He's been talking forever, so it's time for him to put up a shut up. So I think it's time for him to go ahead and show the world what he made of. It's the perfect stage against a team that has a great fan base in Texas. Let's go, BYU money line. Now the next game we're gonna handicap Texas A&M versus St. Mary's. Now we got Texas A&M coming in at 21-11 straight up, and we got St. Mary's at 27-5 straight up. Now Texas A&M is 1-4 straight up last 5 as a dog, and St. Mary's is 17-1 last 18 as a favorite. Straight up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take St. Mary's on the money line. I do have St. Mary's -1, so it's a thinnest of margins. But I have to roll with that favorite dog scenario. 17-1 as a favorite is nothing to sneeze at. So I'm gonna go ahead and take St. Mary's in that game. Texas A&M, obviously Buzz gone, so I don't know what's going. I'm not saying that they're not great or anything like that, but I didn't pay attention to Texas A&M like that. Obviously St. Mary's, I think this their last year against Gonzaga in that conference, so they're going to be the big dog in that conference. So why not go into this tournament making some noise going into next year, knowing that Gonzaga's not going to be in that conference anymore. So let's go St. Mary's money line. Now the next game we're going to go ahead and look at is St. Louis versus Georgia. Now St. Louis comes in at 28-5 straight up. Georgia comes in at 22-10 straight up. St. Louis is 1-7 straight up last 8 versus the SEC, and Georgia is 17-3 straight up last 20 as a favorite. Okay, so now my personal line, I got Georgia thinnest line -1. So kind of tough, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll with Georgia in that scenario, man. I just think Georgia does probably face better competition throughout the season. Obviously there's gonna be nerves on both sides. I just trust Georgia a lot more in this scenario. St. Louis be balling, man. They #1 in their conference, but I think Georgia had a lot to contend with in the SEC. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with Georgia based on the experience, based on the conference. I think Georgia can go ahead and pull out the money line by the thinnest of margin at 1 point. So now the next game we're gonna go ahead and look at is going to be Santa Clara versus Kentucky. Now Santa Clara comes in at 26-8, great record. Kentucky comes in at 21-13 out of the SEC, so it's a gauntlet in that. It's not the greatest conference, but a lot of those teams are even. They're not above and beyond like the Dukes and Michigans, but they're all even amongst each other. Now Santa Clara is 0-7 straight up last 7 versus the SEC, and Kentucky 10-1 last 11 as a favorite. My personal line has this Kentucky -4. Once again, we're gonna roll with Kentucky money line. We're gonna keep it simple. We're not trying to go all out. We got a lot of weeks to go. Got a couple weeks to go. We're not trying to get rich the first weekend. We're trying to slow walk them down. Kentucky as a favorite, astronomical, great. Santa Clara, I don't know about that 0-7 versus the SEC. Too big. They too big. Where they play in their conference, they're not giving them enough beat down when they go against the big conference, Big Five. The Blue Bloods, they're falling short. I think they're gonna do it one more time. Let's go ahead and roll Kentucky money line. Now the next game we're gonna look at is Iowa versus Clemson. Now, the Iowa record we have is 21-12 straight up. So Iowa comes in at 21-12, and then Clemson comes in straight up 24-10. Now Iowa is 3-8 straight up away from home. Clemson is 6-5 straight up away from home. Now my personal line, I have this as a pick. So there's not a lot of wiggle room in this. I think they got Clemson as a dog by like 2.5 points. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with Clemson -2.5. One, based on my line of being a pick. I think we got a little space in there. If it gets to 3, even better. And I just think Clemson better than Iowa, man. I know Iowa got a lot of shooters out there. Iowa, they usually have a good team. They're cornbread. But Clemson got a good team, man. They showed up great early in the season. They had a couple stumbles late, but they're in the ACC, so you got to contend with the Duke, North Carolinas of the world, so it's tough. But Obviously, Iowa being in the Big Ten, you got the Michigans, the Illinois, the Michigan State. So I'm not saying Iowa doesn't have anybody. Now you got UCLA, USC. You got great teams over there. I'm not saying Iowa doesn't have teams to play against, but I just think Clemson overall, to me, profile is a little bit better than Iowa's. I'm watching both teams, looking at the tape. I just think I like Clemson guards a lot more. They can create more. So I just think when it comes down to it, in college, guard play means a lot. You know, you can shoot the rock. Clemson can shoot the rock, but I need creation as well. So go ahead and give me Clemson plus 2.5 in that game. Now the final game that we're gonna go ahead and look at is gonna be Missouri versus Miami. Now, we got Missouri coming in at 20-12 straight up, and then we got Miami coming in at 25-8 straight up. Now, Missouri is 1-5 straight up last 6 on a Friday away from home, and Miami is 17-3 last 20 as a favorite straight up. Now, my personal line has this game at Miami -6. Now, once again, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it simple. Like I said, we're not trying to break the bank first day. We just keeping it nice and simple. We taking Miami on the money line. That favorite record, I can't sneeze at that. Then Missouri being away from home, 1-5 straight up, they don't win away from their stadium. Obviously, they play a lot of good teams in their conference, but you know, so does Miami. You know, being in the ACC, another one of them teams playing against Duke, North Carolina, Clemson, playing against decent teams. So I just think that Miami, I got a -6. Miami, to me, profile is a little bit better than Missouri. Especially away, not having a fan friendly scenario. I think I trust Miami more. So we're gonna go ahead and roll Miami on the money line. So just to go ahead and handicap the games that we're gonna go ahead and take in the first 2 days, the first round, the first 64. We're gonna go ahead and take North Carolina on the money line versus VCU. We got Ohio State on the money line versus TCU. We got Siena taking the points with little boy Siena against big dog Duke plus 29. We got BYU on the money line against Texas. I think Texas won the game. They got their sugar high. I think BYU best player AJ, he owes us one great game. He owes us one. I don't think they're going far, but he owes us one. Then we got St. Mary's against Texas A&M. Just think St. Mary's a little bit more sound, plays a little bit more team ball, a little bit more, a little bit more basketball, And then we got a Georgia money line against St. Louis. St. Louis is great. I just think Georgia coming out of the SEC, a little more competition. Not saying they're gonna disrespect St. Louis. Just think they're not gonna go out there nervous. They're gonna look at St. Louis. They're gonna take them serious. St. Louis coming out of their division number 1. There's no reason to not take them serious. Teams have been in this scenario. This is a 1-game win or go home. So it doesn't matter if you play small teams who, it's 1 game. Everybody can have their day. So I think Georgia gonna come in ready to go. Now we got a Kentucky money line against Santa Clara. It's another one of them scenarios where I think Kentucky, looking at this game, they want to start off this scenario in a great shape. Money line, their season didn't go as good as they probably expected, but they get to right the ship. Not saying St. Louis is food or anything like that. I just think that Kentucky is ripe for a couple games in the tournament. And then we got Iowa versus Clemson. Gonna go ahead and roll with Clemson plus 2.5 in this game. I think Clemson profile is better. I got them as a pick, so give me the free 2.5. If they get to 3, even better. But right now, I see them at 2.5. Give me the 2.5 points. And the final game we rolled them with is Miami money line against Missouri. I think Miami, like I said, their profile is better. As a favorite, they're better. Their profile was great. So, in this scenario, they are the favorite. Neither team has a super fan-friendly scenario. They're both in neutral court. Give me Miami money line. So, once again, this is the field of 64. It's pretty much first round, first couple days of the tournament. We're going to go ahead and handicap those days. And then after that, we're going to keep moving, man. We're going to keep going on, keep moving. Let's go ahead and keep cashing those tickets. Let's go ahead and keep cashing those checks. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Total Payout Podcast. It's your host, Trouble. Let's go. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe at the end of this video. You guys have a great, 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 great day. March Madness time. Let's go.
A heavyweight, they be light work. Change my lane on these niggas and it might work.